start confident, and then they realize they hear all this noise because the calls start canceling each other out, and you start following one, then you lose the other. So people get confused. So that's the split tasking, because you really have that strong feeling of going in different directions. So I play it again. I say this time, tune one caller out, focus on the other caller. And it's amazing the change where they're actively working on focusing on one call. So it takes a little bit more concentration and brain power. But they get about 50% more information from that one caller than they did when they were trying to listen to both. Now it gets really good, because there's something you were talking about earlier where you're saying, well, they're focused so much on the technical aspects of the problem, not on the person. They still miss an important piece of the call because they're focused on the logical solution to the problem and not the emotional issue. Because a lot of times the emotional issues are left unsaid by the customer. So the customer doesn't call up and say, Carol, I'm very frustrated today, and I'm also feeling a little confused and not particularly confident that you're going to solve my problem in a satisfactory manner, but hopefully by the end of the call I feel outstanding. Like, they don't express those emotions, right? You just have to uncover those. And so that becomes the third challenge. Even when we slow down the multitasking, we are doing some multitasking in the sense that we're taking shortcuts to get right to the problem. So there's a lot that's going on there. So I know that's kind of a big answer. You're probably okay most of the time, but if it's something important, it's probably a good idea to block out distractions or take the other computer program off the screen or put the BlackBerry to the side or turn the music down or whatever it is for something really, really important, and then go back to your normal 5 things at once activities.
In your spare time, I'd like you to research something, because the theory is that kids these days are hardwired to something 6.5 or more hours a day. So they have multi-devices that are pulling their attention. And how is that changing the brain so that they'll be a different worker when we hire them 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So I'd love to have your full report by next week, Jeff.
Sure, I'm on top of it. Well, that's still the debate about what that's doing. It is a debate,
and I wonder, because I do believe we are shaping their brains as young children to multitask and do these things that we're talking about as challenging, but perhaps they'll physiologically be prepared to do it. And would be bored if asked to do one task at a time.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing that I haven't seen any debate about is the issue about what can our brains handle at once. And it's still just one conscious thought. So they've just become more adept and comfortable with rapidly switching between tasks. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they can do those tasks at a particularly high level.
And what components are they going to lose?
And they're always losing something when they do that. So that's the piece about, are we hardwiring our brains differently now? Just curious. Yeah. All right, next week I'll be on it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, situations? I love the examples, so I'd be interested in hearing anybody's examples from their call center. Any challenges, success stories on how you've help people to listen?
I have a question from more of a training perspective in terms of trying to create experiences for people, because I think that's such a great point. And I was just curious though, I know often in training when you do role plays or simulations, I think sometimes people will get into it to a point, but I was going to ask you in terms of, well, like I love the hotel experience of letting someone have that opportunity, but are there other ideas? Because I sometimes think when we do role plays with customer service or things, people will kind of act it out that day, kind of like, yeah, this is all fun. But I was just curious to see either what suggestions you had for helping that stick and really transferring that back on the job.
Well, it's kind of job or industry specific. Well, I know you guys did something really cool recently. Would you mind sharing what you did with the gift cards? I think that was a great example.
We wanted to get our customer service agents to really examine the acts of customer service that they receive daily. And so we bought everyone a gift card, a Visa gift card, and asked them to make a purchase. And then we gave them some regulations or some guidelines that said you had to order online, you had to do a call back, or you had to ask about the product. You know, some of the things that they experience themselves. Does it run large? Does it run small? And then they had to call back afterwards.
Okay.
Did they use their name? Did they, just to examine the interaction? And then we saw that just the examples that we came, they were terrible, they didn't do this, or they were great, and it was very useful, we thought.
That
That's a
sounds
good
brilliant,
idea.
because the experiential, that's where I was wondering, you really tapped in, they actually are experiencing it. So it takes it away from, in this room, I'm practicing it.
Right.
That's
I
wonderful.
think that's the key, Janice,
Yeah.
is to go beyond the classroom and make it an experiential activity where the classroom is used to maybe set up and debrief.
Yes.
How did it go when you did this? But that's a great
I love
example of
that.
how you can create that experience.
Thank you.
Especially if you tie it to hiring people that are passionate about that to begin with. They don't have to have direct experience, but they can relate to it, or they're passionate about it, or there's already some sort of connection with that, so it's easy to make that empathy bridge. So it's probably not a great idea to hire people at a college or university that have no interest and don't care about higher education, right? It doesn't mean that they have to have higher education, but if they're not interested or curious, or they don't consider themselves learners, probably not a good fit. Right? I'd be the make that connection. Then it's probably easier to create and design real experiences based on that.
Thank you, that's fantastic.
Was your gift card $25 per person?
Yeah.
Significant.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really
So
good.
And
that's
then
an
they really bought
investment.
in because they
Yeah.
could buy whatever they wanted.
That,
Yeah.
I love
But
that.
if you look at a training cost, I mean, many companies spend $50, $100, $200 per person on a training event. $25 to
Right.
have that experience is a
Yeah.
good investment.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Good one.
Well, the first rule of anything, I think, is start on time and end on time.
Yes.
So we're getting close to 9 o'clock. So if you'd like to get a copy of the white paper and also stay tuned with some of the additional research that's coming out, I have a newsletter that I send out once a month where I kind of have been publishing some updates. And I've also been trying to chronicle some things in my blog. For example, I've been having a customer service problem with Avis. And after talking to 5 people who didn't resolve it, I figured blogging's fair game. Lo and behold, it got resolved. That's all I'm saying. But it's interesting to examine why did it take me doing that. So those are the kind of things I like to share. So if you'd like to stay tuned with that, just hand me your business card before you leave today. So you don't have to vacate the premises, but I think this is the the formal sitting in a chair staring this way part of the program has now ended. And once again, thank you very much for coming out today. I really
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Good to see all of you.
Yes.
Thank you.